Demetrius is one of those intriguing figures in the Bible whose actions leave a significant impact, even though he's only mentioned briefly. So, who was Demetrius? What role did he play, and why is he remembered in the scriptures? Demetrius was a silversmith in the city of Ephesus. Ephesus, during the time of the Apostle Paul, was a major hub of commerce and religion. One of the most prominent features of the city was the Temple of Diana, or Artemis, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. This temple wasn't just a place of worship, it was a major economic center. People from all over came to worship the goddess Diana, and they would buy small silver shrines or idols to take home as religious souvenirs. This is where Demetrius comes into the picture. Demetrius was a leader among the craftsmen who made these silver shrines. His livelihood, along with that of many others, depended on the continued popularity of Diana worship. He was skilled at his craft, and his work was in high demand. However, something happened that threatened his business and the entire industry built around Diana worship. Paul began preaching the gospel in Ephesus. Paul's message was simple but powerful. There is one true God, and he is not made by human hands. This message directly challenged the core of what Demetrius and his fellow craftsmen were doing. The more people believed Paul, the fewer idols were sold. Demetrius saw this as a direct threat to his income, and he was not going to stand idly by and watch his business crumble. But it wasn't just about money for Demetrius. He also felt that Paul's teachings disrespected the great goddess Diana, whom he and many others in Ephesus held in high esteem. This mixture of financial and religious motivation spurred Demetrius into action. He called together the other craftsmen and those who were connected to the idol-making trade. In a passionate speech, he pointed out how Paul's teachings were turning people away from Diana, not only in Ephesus, but throughout almost all of Asia. He made it clear that if this continued, their trade would lose its good name, and the temple of the great goddess Diana would be despised. Demetrius's words struck a chord with the craftsmen. They became furious and began shouting, "Great is Diana of the Ephesians!" This cry echoed through the city, causing a great commotion. The people seized 2 of Paul's companions, Gaius and Aristarchus, and rushed into the theater, dragging them along. The whole city was in an uproar, and a large crowd gathered, not even knowing why they were there. The situation was chaotic, and it seemed like a full-blown riot was about to erupt. Paul wanted to address the crowd, but the disciples and some of the officials in Ephesus, who were friendly towards Paul, urged him not to go. They knew the mob was too dangerous. Eventually, the city clerk managed to calm the crowd by reminding them that Ephesus was indeed the guardian of the Temple of Diana, and that there was no need for such an uproar. He also pointed out that if Demetrius and the craftsmen had any legitimate grievance, they should take it to the courts, as there was a proper legal procedure for such matters. With this, the crowd dispersed, and the immediate crisis was averted. Demetrius wasn't just a random character. He represented the vested interests that felt threatened by the spread of Christianity. His actions remind us that the gospel often challenges the status quo, and not everyone is willing to accept change, especially when it affects their livelihood or deeply held beliefs. Demetrius's story also shows how the spread of the gospel was not just a spiritual battle, but also had significant social and economic implications. The message of God's amazing love and truth can disrupt entire communities and economies, especially when those communities are built on practices contrary to God's will.